Welcome, welcome. Hello everyone. It's Monday, January 25th, and tonight we're sewing. So we've kind of taken a little break from our usual stand-up routine, and we're going to be behind the machines tonight because we're going to make a pair of yoga pants, and hopefully everybody is behind your machine too because we're going to sew along. That's the goal. Have a little sew along. So if you can sew with me, and then if you have any questions or problems as you sew it along the way, you can ask. So hopefully this will be a great thing. Tonight's on yoga pants. Yoga pants, we all know, across the world, #1 pant across the world. We can make them. We can make them for ourselves, our daughters, our friends. We can make them, or no one. We can make them for whoever we want, and they're awesome. And there's lots of fabrics we're going to talk about. It's really exciting. It's an exciting time to be sewing. It's an exciting time to be making pants because they're really simple, and we're going to show you tonight how simple they can be. Alright, but again, traditionally we'll start with our question and answer format. I had a couple questions come in that I'll kind of put in between, but let's start off. Do we have any questions that we're holding for right now? The question is, are you wearing a version of Sunny's top made with different striped fabrics? Is that the question? I am wearing a version of Sunny's top made with different striped fabrics. Sunny's top is pattern number 113, and we have these stripes on our website. I love these stripes. I absolutely fell in love with these. So there's 3 coordinating stripes, and what I did is I put the smallest at the bottom, and then the middle in the middle, and then the wide at the top. So you look wider at the top and skinnier at the bottom. It's a great plan. So I didn't do any pattern changes. I just used 3 different fabrics. They're all on the site. You can see them, and I love it. It's comfortable, comfortable, comfortable. How it started is I was in San Diego over the weekend, and one of the gals in the workshop had bought the fabric. And so she was asking me what to do with it, and I told her what I had done with it, what I wanted to do with it. I love these fabrics. Anyway, so we got to playing with them and decided how they should go together. The sleeves should be the wider stripe, you know, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, so I wanted to get it made up. So I did. Okay, so they're talking about the yoga pant? Which pattern? I mean, I'm going to assume you're talking about the yoga pant. So it's your first silhouette pattern, she said. You've got your measurements. You should... Now, tonight, what we're going to talk about a lot is fabrics, because different fabrics will cause us to use different sizes. But I'm going to always recommend you take the fabric and kind of wrap it around your body and pull it until it's the, you know, as tight as you want the pant to be. With yoga pant, you'll find yourself using several different sizes. I have found myself using several different sizes. So don't lock into one size as opposed to lock into the look you want. If you wear yoga pants, measure some that you've bought. Measure yourself. See the difference between those two. How much circumference you use is all about personality and how, you know, age, how old you are, you know, how much you weigh, how self-conscious you are. All of those factors, you know, factor into the final decision. So generally I say if you're using like a Pontoroma knit, you should measure your hips and go down a size. That's kind of an overall suggestion, but it doesn't mean you'll always use that same size. I noticed in the last DVD series that you were sewing on a new sewing machine. What was it, and would you suggest purchasing it? I was sewing on the Epic. It's the Viking Epic. Absolutely, I would suggest purchasing it. It is not a cheap machine. It's an amazing machine. Probably the #1 thing I like about it, and they don't probably even know, or anyway, is I went through 12 layers of denim. It didn't even blink. Did not even I don't know what it's called, but the punch power or whatever that power is is amazing. And not just for that. It's you know, here's the issue then, the problem of today with our sewing machines. It used to be we bought a sewing machine, we kept it for a zillion years, but a computerized sewing machine, you can't do that anymore because the computer issues go outdated. So if you can afford it, get in the game. The financing, there's like no interest for 5 years, so it's like $300 a month, or I don't know, a car payment or close to, if you can afford it. If you can't, don't go there. And then trade it in, and I would keep the newest, latest, and greatest sewing machine. I really would. It's what I do for a living, so yes, I would get it. It's a beautiful machine. It's amazing to sew on. When you sew the waistband onto the yoga pant, do you catch the elastic in the stitching or not? Not. You do not catch the elastic in the stitching. I'll do it tonight and I'll show you. Okay? And the reason being is because elastic, I don't care what kind of elastic is, it never responds as well to being sewn through as it does to not be sewing through. You're always better off to not sew through the elastic. My last yoga pant was a size 14W, but I've lost 25 pounds. And my hips are now a 39 and waist 31. Great job. Congratulations. 39 hips. Those are baby hips. What do you recommend using now? Again, I can't tell you a size based on measurements because there's too many other factors involved. So it really depends on you and how tight you like your yoga pants and all of those things. The one thing I want to really get past is, for so long women would say, I'd never wear a pair of yoga pants, they're too tight. Yoga pants don't have to be tight. They do not have to be tight. So I can wear a beautiful pair of yoga pants that has extra room in them. It's all dependent upon the size that you pick. So you guys could send me a million measurements and I can't tell you the size you should pick out, but you can, based on how you want those yoga pants to fit. Do all French curves measure the same? I have one in Canada and one in Florida. They seem different. If I record my numbers from the curve with one, will it work on both? All French curves are not the same. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I would recommend just whichever one you have, buy another one of those so that then you have the same numbers. We make a French curve, so there you go. And they're not all the same. Ours is a standard curve. Some are not accurate. But they, I would definitely have the same curve in both locations. Absolutely, no question. Because you could have different, even if they're the same curve, they could be numbered differently. The numbers are only for, there's no right numbers on a curve. The numbers are only for reference for duplication of the curve. So while the French curve can be right or wrong, the numbers can't be right or wrong. Tips on how to sew a dart on a knit tee French dart without a puckering. We have a YouTube on this. We did a YouTube on sewing a French dart. So if you go to our YouTube videos and look up, we did like a little 10-minute thing on sewing a French dart. You start at the tip. When you sew it, align it straight to the bottom and just sew straight. And that way you'll have a nice gradual sewing amount on the tip. I am interested in making my own shapewear. What fabric should I use, and should I go down 2 sizes? The shapewear that we have, some shapewear, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's gorgeous. We have nude and we have black. And 2 sizes, I mean, again, that is dependent on how squeezed in you want to be, in your garment. I try really hard to get out of the size thing because sizes aren't standard, and whenever we refer to sizes, could I say generally yes, go down a couple sizes? Yes, but again, it depends on how squeezed in you want to be in your clothing. On our last Fit to Stitch the 500 series, we did a show on undergarments. They've changed a lot, and yet we're still somehow back into that girdle. So just be aware of what you want to do, but the yoga pant is a great pattern. It's a great base for those shapers. Spanx is really just a pair of yoga pants with stretchy material, so it works really good. So we have it on the site. You can look at it and just see if you like it. Do you have instructions for narrowing the legs of yoga pants? I tried to narrow them and now have wrinkles behind my knees. Yeah, whenever you narrow a leg extremely a lot, then it will, if it's not the right angles, then the wrinkles. So if you look at the wrinkles and take darts where the wrinkles are and then taper them to nothing above the knee, that will take away those wrinkles. or depending on your fabric. If you're trying to come in close to the knee or close to the leg, then you should probably have fabric that stretches in both directions. So basically it's from the knee and the pant not changing directions the same amount at the same place at the same time. So darting will fix that. You can kind of do a muslin or use the pant you made as a muslin and figure out the dart will be just above the knee. It'll probably be on the out seam and then taper to nothing to the inseam, just as a tip. The yoga pant I made has a straight waistband. The ones I bought and like have a curved waistband. Can I do that with your pattern? Of course, but just, I mean, how do you know they're curved? They might look curved, but they're actually not really curved. But if you're sure they're curved, yes, you can do that. But just be certain that they're actually curved. Sometimes once a fabric is cut and sewn, it will appear to be curved even though it's straight. It will follow the waist shaping of the top of the pant, and if the top of the pant is curved, it will be. But with a knit, it'd be hard to know if it's curved. But if you're sure, that's cool. Oh, how's Brett doing? Brett's improving. You know, if, everyone who knows who's gone through cancer, you don't get better overnight. But after the second round of chemo, he did not get pneumonia, which he did after the first round. And so, man, he is, you know, ready for round 3, which he goes into the hospital this Friday. And he is tough. He's toughing it out. People say to me, oh, you're so courageous for traveling, but I would have canceled everything. He says to me, no, Mom, go. Get out of here. So anyway, he is extremely supportive, and he's doing well. I mean, you know, he's not better, but little by little he's doing better and better. So thanks for asking. And I really have to say thank you, and I know he is very appreciative. He has gotten candy, cards, puzzle, I mean, all kinds of stuff sent to him. So thank you all for being just so kind, and we are cautiously optimistic, that's for sure, but being very careful. I love pockets. How can I add these to the yoga pant? That is in the DVD, because there's several different kinds of pockets. We go over all the different kinds of pockets. We can talk about them tonight as well, but I'd strongly recommend the yoga pant DVD. It's on sale right now. If you buy the yoga pant DVD, you get 2 yards of elastic, white or black, either your choice, free. But it goes through a lot more. It goes through all kinds of styling, leg, changes, pockets. I'll go over it just to help you, but I'd highly recommend that little DVD. Can you explain the difference between your regular sizes in your pattern and the W sizes? For example, size 12 have the same measurements as the 14. How do those patterns differ? W sizes are a different grading. So regular patterns grade from one size to another based on bone structure and how the bone structure is changing. Saks Fifth Avenue, JCPenney's got together, did this massive multi-million-dollar research on women's bodies in this current state, and how and why they are going to different sizes and how the body changes. And what they found, as we have gone to bigger sizes because of weight gain, it's a completely different grade. So the W size is based on needing a larger size based on weight gain, not on bone structure. So actually the W body is actually a smaller boned woman than the regular sizes, but she generally has more weight on her. That being said, the neckline does not grade out as much in the regular size as it does in the W size. The shoulder does not get as wide in the W size as it does in the regular size. There's many changes. However, when you get to the pant, there are not a lot of changes. We still did a W size just because many women were used to having the W size. So you're going to see some crossover in the sizing, and you're not going to see a lot of difference in the W size and in the regular size. And so it wouldn't make a difference if you use the 16W or the 14, or you'll see several crossovers. It won't make a difference which one you use. But generally, if you're in that size because of weight gain, use the W. If you're in that size simply because you're large bone, use the regular size. So and continue on just as if you would in the tops. Again, we probably could have not done the W size and been okay in the bottoms, but we really wanted to represent all those sizes for you. I just got the yoga pants pattern, and there are 2 waistband options. I don't understand the different types in or out. I'll show you tonight as we get there. I'll kind of point it out to you. And that's just There are yoga pants today that are being made that are a real casual look, and the seam is on the outside of the pant. Then there are yoga pants where they're a little more dressy or just everyday wear, and the seaming is on the inside. But like I said, I'll show you that. Do you do the darting behind the knee on the back only? No, back and front. Even though it's manifesting itself in the back, when you take the dart at the outseam and taper to nothing on the inseam, you have to take a dart on the outseam of the front and taper to nothing on the inseam as well. The dart actually goes front and back when you're trying to change the angle of the leg. Can you make the yoga pant and not use elastic in the waistband? You can. If so, how do you make sure it stays up? Well, I'm assuming if you don't want to use elastic that it would stay up by itself. If you don't want to use elastic, then you have to make it smaller. And you have to rely on the fabric itself. I'm not sure why you would do that. Maybe let me know why you would do that and I'll give you some options. But you could at least use elastic in the back. Truly the Yoga Pant DVD gives all kinds of style options. I mean, all kinds. Lots and lots of different style options. I think you would really benefit from it because yoga pants are so popular. So all those different styles are included. In the yoga pant I have horizontal ripples. I assume this is circumference. It is. Horizontal is circumference. When I take this out, how will it affect the crotch depth and length? Well, once you get the right circumference, the crotch depth and crotch length will both drop. So I wouldn't make any changes if the circumference is not where you want it. I'd get the circumference where you want it first and then go back and revisit the crotch length and crotch depth. Would the yoga pant make good golf pants? Absolutely. Good pajamas, good gardening pants. They really do all kinds of stuff. One thing I forgot to say about Brett, let me just say this. You guys, this is my sewing room. This is actually Brett's old bedroom before he moved out. But anyway, and so we broadcast from this sewing room. And when Brett started getting sick, we moved him back here so that I could kind of help him along the way. So even though he's not 100%, he's downstairs probably going along with the webcast because he's probably listening or watching. He's tuning in or something, probably. Anyway, he's probably here more than just in spirit. How's that? But we've got somebody else running the webcast tonight. He's on paid leave for I don't know, a while until he gets better. How's that? I had a question that came in over the webcast that I wanted to answer, and that was they were using the sweater set and they couldn't get the French curve to line up. So I don't know if they were using a correct French curve or the correct pattern, but I went ahead and I put it up here. Let me take this down for a minute. And I want to show you, and I tried to explain how it would line up, but I just said I would show you on the webcast tonight. So there it is. And the numbers for me at the shoulder are 14.5, and they're down to 23. 14.5 to 23. That's on the edge. That's actually not the armhole size because you've got to go seam allowance in, but hopefully that's how it lines up. Okay? Okay. Could they see that? Okay. All right. How are we doing? Any other questions? We're good? We ready to sew? What's the best fabric for yoga pants? I don't think there's a best. There's a whole myriad. Let's talk fabrics for just a minute before we start sewing. We've got the Eileen Fisher. We've got the black Pontoroma and the brown. We've got different color Pontoromas on there. And that really was the beginning of yoga pants. Pontoroma was the fabric that was kind of the staple. It's gone so far beyond that. There's wool. Pontoroma is the blend. The fiber for many of the case was a poly rayon. Rayon's always good to look for because rayon gives it a better drape. Tonight in the webcast I'm using, this is a dark sand. We've got it on the webcast. It's cotton. And it's a beautiful drape. It's so dense. It's just terrific. So what they went to then is they did stretch wovens because there was a lot of businesses that said, oh, you can't wear yoga pants to work. But that was the typical kind of cottony knit tight yoga pants, whereas you could easily wear a pair of pants like this to work. Nobody would even know they're yoga pants, including your boss, and you could easily get by with wearing yoga pants to work. So the concept of yoga pants has gotten so broad because the pants have gotten so popular. There's just definitely not one fabric that's used anymore. As long as the fabric has stretch, even if it doesn't have stretch, we're still using it, and we're just making different sizes. So if you're using a fabric that is a woven that doesn't have stretch, then you just use a larger size, and you can still pull them on. They're still better. You know, the advantage of the yoga pant is they're a 2-inch wide elastic waist, and they're a very smooth fitting knit pant. Really, that's all they are. They're characterized by a 2-inch wide elastic waist, and they're very smooth fitting. If you go back to Grandma's elastic pants, they had a little 1/4-inch elastic at the top or a 1-inch elastic at the top, and they had lots and lots of fullness and too much gathers, and they made us look balloony. You know, they made kind of look like clown pants. So the yoga pant was really a smoothing out or a sophistication of that elastic pull-on pant. But they're amazing. They're very slimming. They're very slimming. Everybody should have yoga pants. I don't care if you don't ever exercise in them or anything. They're good on so many different levels, which is why I wanted to make them pattern of the month. They should be pattern of the year. You know, they really are everywhere, and everyone should be sewing with them. They're easy, they're simple. Last month we covered fitting. You know, email me with any questions you have. I'm happy to help you, because this is a great place to reemerge in sewing. It's a great place if you've been sewing for years to sew for yourself something. And they're quick and easy. As you see, it's 8 something. We're going to have them made up in no time. And you can, you know, you can definitely make yoga pants faster than you can get in your car and drive anywhere, you know, and get them, or faster than you could, you know, order them even online. So get your fabric. We've got lots of fabric online. There's not a fabric you probably couldn't use. It's just a matter of whether you're going to wear them for casual or, you know, what you're going to use them for. But get your fabric, get your pattern, and we'll get it going. My hips are 36.5, so how do I start at 2 sizes below size 4? Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to go up 2 sizes above size 4, so you'd go from the 4, the 6, the 8. Look at the difference between the 4 and the 8 and go that much down everywhere. Everywhere that the 8 and the 4 change, go down 2 more sizes, and you'll just grade down to your size. Very easy to do. And of course, once you do it, you've got your base pattern. You don't have to do it every time. But even if you have to, it's very easy to do. Okay? Okay, so it sounds like the most thing you're concerned about is getting the leg to fit as my translator here. Okay, so you're concerned with the styling of the leg. Is that fair that I say that? That I surmise that? The leg on the pant pattern is 18 inches, roughly 18 inches. That's what we have. If you want to narrow it, the first thing you need to know is what you want. So let's say I want 12. 12 is a pretty thin leg, and if I currently have 18, that means I'm going to take 6 inches away. So 6 inches, but I've got 4 seams. So that's only 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. That's 3, and 3 is 6. So all I do is come in 1.5 inches and taper up to the knee, or taper all the way up to the thigh. We talk so much about the hem, but also what you should know is how many inches you want around your knee. This is all styling, and what's really important is that you know what you want. No one can tell you what you want. You have to decide that for yourself, and you can. It's very easy. If you don't want to go to the store and don't want to shop, you could stand in the mirror with a pair of pants you have and just pin out. You know, pin them down to a 12, pin them down to a 9, pin them down to something that you like. And then do the same thing to the knee. The thigh, if you have really little thighs, then pick the pant out by the thigh measurement, but know what your thigh measurement is. And then you can always go bigger for the waist if your waist is thick. Usually ladies who have really little thighs have tummies. Not always, but sometimes. So you can go from one size to another. If you look at the side seam on the pattern, it's so easy to go from one size waist to one size hip to one size leg. Use your French curve. Lay it down on that side seam and just pivot it in. You can leave it out at the waist, pivot it in for the leg, or change and go wherever you want. You don't have to use one size all the way across the board. Okay, so very easy to change the bottom. Again, know what you want, know what you have, divide by 4, take it away. Take it away to the knee if you only want to slim the bottom, take it away to the thigh if you want to slim all the way down. Is that pretty clear? Is everybody okay with that? Does that make sense, you guys? A fabric that's best for exercise, I would always go with two-way stretch. You got to have stretch up and down and around. Absolutely. Otherwise, you're limited as to how you can move. You can make yoga pants, with any fabric, but for exercising, if you truly want to exercise, you want to look for stretch in both directions. We have a Lululemon Sprite that's online, and obviously it's the Lululemon that we're duplicating, and it's a beautiful fabric. It's a really nice bold weight, and it has stretch in both directions. So I would strongly recommend, if you're doing exercise, that's the way to go. Or if you're looking to kind of duplicate the look of the Lululemon, it's a great fabric. Should we start sewing? Alright, so when I cut out I can answer questions while I'm sewing. When I cut out my pant, now I'm using, this is the dark sand stretch. This fabric is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It stretches just as much as a Pontoroma, so I'm using the exact same size. I'm not changing anything about anything. I'm using the exact same size. When I cut out the fabric, I used I put right sides together. So remember, you guys are sewing with me, right? I'm doing center back seam, sorry. Anyway, let me finish on the fabric. When I cut the fabric, when I cut it out, I did pay attention to grain lines simply because why not? It just wasn't that big deal. I cut 2 yards to start, laid it out, put the right sides together, and went to town. So you can see this has, a nice amount of stretch to it. I'm really excited about these pants. This is a perfect color for right now. Dark tops can be worn with it, and it's just really nice. It's not a real light summery color. It's really beautiful. It's a really pretty color. Alright, so that was center back. So I'm just going to do the inseam and the outseam. First center front, then center back. I have a tendency to can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, I have a tendency to where I don't want to iron as little as possible. I don't want to iron. I don't want to make as many trips back and forth as I have to the iron. So that was the center front and center back seam. Now I'm just going to serge the hems. For my thread color, my serge color, this matches just spot on. And it's just what I had in my repertoire, so it's really nice. It's really pretty. The waistband style that I'm going to do is just a straight band. There's a lot of styles out there, but I'm just doing a straight band. Yes, I said knit doesn't have grain, but there are some knits. I think, I'm trying to think what I'm going to say. I've just gotten a lot of emails where ladies have said to me, it's not our fabric, but still, they've bought fabric, they didn't worry about the grain and the leg twist. So, I'm not giving advice for all fabrics. So, if you're using a fabric and you're maybe not sure of the quality, then why not put it on grain to just be careful? It doesn't take that much longer. Usually you buy enough anyway. Just be cautious. It doesn't have a grain. I'm not saying it has a grain, but measure from the selvage as if it had a grain. Try to keep it straight. Only because some of you have done some things and you've kind of messed up the pant. And I don't want, I don't want that. Sorry? This is a S21, a Viking S21. Okay, so it doesn't make any difference if you do, I've got the pant done up. Everybody with me? How many of you are following along? Sewing along. No, I'm sorry. Will the serge seam be strong enough for the pant? Absolutely. You don't need to sew them on the sewing machine and then sew them twice. I'm using a 4-thread serger thread, 4 threads. So one of those is just a regular stitch, and then, or 2 of them, and then the other 2 are the overcast. So yes, a 4-thread. Use a 4-thread, not a 3-thread. Use a 4-thread. Serge seams do it. Serge seams gather. No, no, you shouldn't pull on your serger when you're sewing on your serger, because your serger, your fabric will stretch. You shouldn't have to. Just kind of, just kind of look ahead. You definitely don't want to pull on your seams. That's not a good idea at all. What would cause them to gather is your tension on your serger is not correct. It's either not correct on the layer, or something's not correct on the tension on your serger. That's good. That's good, you guys. Okay, sorry. It's really funny because Brett's been doing webcasts for 4 years, and then Brett's not here, and it's just different. So there's a comic behind every camera. Anyway, many of Sure. Okay, so many of you will play this as you are watching it, so we're going to sew pants together. Whether you're sewing with me live now or later on, I'll be in your sewing room and we'll be sewing together. And the good news is, these can't take that long, all right? And the comedian behind the camera just wants you all to know when you're not watching it live and when you're sewing, what's going on. Yeah. When you don't have the chat, that's why. We have to keep repeating the questions, and I keep forgetting to repeat the questions. Is that fair? Okay. The guy behind the camera is actually looking out for your good, is what's happening, is the truth. When they assemble the pants, they do what?
They assemble them differently. So they create the right half and then the left half, so in the center.
Hey, remember they're your pants. You get to do them however you want. Doesn't make any difference. Again, this is factory. I'm factory. I do it just like the factory. It's like having too many cooks in the kitchen. Is Brett behind the camera? Is Brett? No. Got it, got it, got it. So it doesn't matter if you sew the pant itself or the band first. You're basically sewing the pant, sewing the band, and then you're going to put them together. The serger seam won't unravel. You just cut them off. I'm just cutting them. Serger seams will not unravel. Besides, you're going to hem them. Serger seam will always have something else that crosses it, so you don't have to worry about finishing them or anything. Right? So I make sure my crotch is at the same point. Not that anyone's going to look at my crotch, but just because. Kind of go ahead, look down the road, make sure they're the same length, and then just kind of pull them taut. Make sure your edges are together, don't let your edges get away. Alright, pants done. Now we're going to do the waistband. I do the waistband kind of a combination of sewing and serging. So I've done this right sides together. You're going to sew a little 3/8 seam. I don't use the serger on this because it kind of gives it a little more bulk when you go to do that waistband. You're going to open it up, fold it in half. I had just put a pin on the right side. So you're going to fold this all the way in half. I'm going to take my elastic. I cut my elastic exactly equal to the band. You know what I've noticed, y'all don't take this wrong, but I've particularly noticed it in women who maybe wear elastic pants, maybe women who are older. First off, they want their yoga pant to go too high. It shouldn't go to your waist. It really should go below your waist. So if you're wanting to pull them up to your waist, the first thing I'm going to recommend that you do is lower them a little bit. Second, I think you get the elastic too small. You think the elastic has to, kind of in the old day, the elastic was a lot smaller than the pant. But it was a lot smaller than the pant simply because the pant was so big. The elastic was equal to our waist. Or the elastic a lot of times was smaller than our waist. So I'm going to recommend that you, first off, you put the band below your waist. So the band's going to go, the yoga pant really should go around your belly button. And I'm strongly going to encourage you to do that because it's going to be a better look. It's going to be a more youthful look, but it's also going to be a more slimming look. Otherwise, the yoga pant comes over your belly and it makes that belly look bigger, not smaller. So I would strongly suggest that you not, go over the waist with the yoga pant. And don't make the elastic too tight. That's what I'm seeing a lot of women when we try them on or when they bring them to me and they've made that elastic way too small. So what I'm doing here is I've made the casing. I'm just going around and pinning, and then I put a pin about 3/8 inch to make sure that the elastic's pushed up and to make sure that it won't slide back down when I go to sew. Whenever I sew the band on, I'll show you, I'm going to sew with the sewing machine and then I'll serge it, because with a sewing machine I can sew more accurately. So when accuracy is important, I'm going to sew with the sewing machine, not the serger. Okay, so there's my band. The center back seam is going to go at the back of the pant, so I'm going to pin it onto the top of the pant. Now again, the at this point it's a 1-to-1, so there really shouldn't be really anything hard. You might have a little bit of one piece is bigger than the other, but for the most part it'll be the same. How do you sew the hem? Stitch straight, stitch, oh I'm sorry, the stitch length, I'm at 3.5 on this, and yes, it's a straight stitch. I think they mean a zigzag rather than straight. No, I use a straight stitch. Okay, so now I'm just pinning the band on to the pant, and you know, a lot of times women will say, oh, do you quarter it, do you do that? You don't really have to do any, hold on one second, you don't really have to do any of that because the band's the same size, so there might be a little bit of difference, but it doesn't hurt to quarter it. Okay, sorry, what, Jared? No interfacing. Interfacing's... No interfacing. I'm going to say something, but I won't say that. Center back seam on the side. It might. I put it at the back. Sorry. Does the pattern say center back seam at the side? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, here's the waistband. The elastic's inside. If you didn't see that, the elastic, I've already put the elastic inside. And I'm pinning it, and where I'm pinning it, the elastic is not being caught in that section. So as far as sewing goes, this is a very simple thing to do. All I want to do is make sure that it's even all the way around. I think so. This is the same band that's on the yoga skirt. Yes. What's the difference between 3400 and the other two yoga pant patterns? Styling. The fit is the same, but the styling is, as yoga pants started to get really popular, when they first started to get really popular, like 3011 is an Ellie Tahari, and it's really cool. I mean, I love that pant. It's really nice looking. But it's strongly different. You know, you can look at them and see the differences. It's a lot different. And then the other one, let's see. 3413 has pockets. I don't think why am I sewing the waistband differently than the pattern guide sheet? I don't think I am. I think I'm sewing it exactly the same. You just put it on. I didn't quarter it. I cut my waistband a little bit smaller than the pant, and so I didn't actually section it. I may have to do it again. I just keep thinking I'll get it to fit on, but I may not get it positioned right, so I may have to do it again. This is, I'm pretty sure this is exactly as the directions say. What's that? There is a side panel, yes. So there's different styles that I wanted to do so that you all would have different styles. That's why we did different. They're all the same base. They're all 3400. They're just different styles. You know what, you guys? I didn't divide this out right, and now I keep moving it around. Now I don't know where I am. So I'm going to just start dividing it like I was supposed to in the first place. But I'm pretty sure these are the directions that we have in the pattern. I can't imagine that we told you any other way to do it. But if you're looking at the pattern and there's something different, let me know. Yeah, you're right, you guys. Sorry. Okay, so here I am at the waistband. What I should have done in the first place, I thought, oh, I'll just pin this on, it'll work. Here's my, I put the center back seam in the, I put the seam at center back. So I'm going to put a pin at center front, and then I'm going to put 2 pins at the side. Then I can use those as my guides. And I didn't do that. Okay, then when I hold up the top of the pant, unless you've made changes, the back is a little wider than the front. I'm sorry. The front is a little wider than the back, but it'll be very close, and you don't have seams there, and you can shift that if you want it to be different. So now I'm going to line up the back. I just overestimated it. I thought it'd be so easy. I didn't have to worry about it. This is the front. Do I have a favorite of the 3 yoga pant patterns? Well, I'm going to tell you something. I make all of them a lot. So I would say no. I really... The one that has the panel down the side, it's really slimming. I mean, I do like that one. But that 3011, the Ellie Tahari, I really like that one too. So I would say no. I guess not. The sizing is the same. The sizing is the same on all of them. Well, the fabric recommendations are the same on all those. None of those 3 patterns are woven. They're all knits. 3011's a knit. 3413 is our PBS. That's a knit. 3400, that's a knit. Oh, that's just an option if you want to, you know, as opposed to putting the elastic in a circle. It doesn't matter. No, no, okay, sorry. So the reference is being made to when you actually made the elastic circle. I made an elastic band, then I made the waistband a circle, then I folded the waistband in half and put the elastic up in, and they're all completely separate. The directions just show that you catch the elastic in the seaming and do it all at the same time. It doesn't make any difference. It just doesn't make any difference. I'm not sure why we did it that way. Obviously, when we were putting our big heads together at the time, we figured there might be an advantage, but it doesn't make it, you know, whatever you find to be easier. Okay, so as I pin those 4 sections, I'm just going to pull them to make sure they easily can be fitted into that area. You don't really have to go, I'm not even going to go back and pin the whole thing. I'm just going to go ahead and sew this section. And I'm going to sew from the waistband up. I'm going to put the waistband on top so that I can see that I'm not stitching through the elastic, so that I'm within my 3/8. I'm also going to start on the center back seam. Put those there. Can everybody see? And I'm going to stretch each section as I'm sewing it. And I want to make sure all, now I did not pin the waistband together. I did leave these pins in because they're kind of making sure the elastic is being held away from the edge. So just take each little section at a time and go for it. You could pin the whole entire thing, I'm just not. Once you make sure that it'll all sew in, you don't need to sew it all. Okay, so this is where we had directions that one was either inside the pant, one was outside the pant. What I'm doing here is I'm putting this waistband, and I'll show you just in a minute. This one is being sewn inside the pant. So I'm looking underneath, making sure all my layers are the same, making sure my elastic is, this is a straight stitch, it is. Making sure my elastic's being held in place. What? I'm sorry? Seam allowance. What seam allowance am I using? This is a 3/8. Alright, so I've gone all the way around. So when I was telling you I would show you a little bit earlier, is that here, that's the front of the pant. That's the front of the pant. So if I wanted to, notice this seam here is on the inside. There's yoga pants where that seam, this is on the outside. So it just depends on how you want the seam to look. I want it on the inside. I wanted it a little more polished and finished. So I put right sides together with the seam to the inside. Okay? So now I'm going to take, and I'm happy with the way it looks, it's really pretty, and I am going to go to the serger, and I'm going to serge all the way around. And now, right now, I don't have to worry about catching it anywhere, because I've already proportioned it. It looks really nice and even. And I don't need the serger, but the serger does a really nice job of cleaning up my sewing. And if you notice, I haven't even had to iron anything. You really don't have to, I don't think. Okay, there we go. Very confused. The waistband is patterned for size The waistband pattern for size 12 is 32 inches long, while the pant seam is 36 inches long. So how can this be a 1-to-1 ratio? Well, make sure you take away all your seam allowances. The waistband only has 2 seam allowances. The pants have 8. So just, do that math. The waistband might be a little bit smaller so that the pant eases into it. I said a 1-to-1, but I think the waistband's a little bit smaller. So 32 to 36 is not a big deal. The gathering is because this is a woven pant. In a knit pant you wouldn't have that gathering. I mean, you wouldn't see it because it's a knit pant, but because this is a woven, you're going to see a little bit of that easing until you press it. If you press it, a lot of that will come out. It's just right now. Okay? So I'm going to put my label in because I always do, and then I'll press it and I'll show you all. You'll feel a little bit better. Even before I put the label, you're going to, what really makes, I think, yoga pants look really store-made, store-bought, is you want to stitch right below the waistband. About, and I'm going to start at center back, probably about an eighth to a quarter of an inch. You're going to stitch that seam and you're going to stitch it down. And it's what will hold the seam down in place. So I'm just going to go all the way around and do that. And I think every pant I've ever seen in every store that's ready-made has the seam. So for me, when I don't see it, I think it looks a little homemade. I'll show it to you after I stitch it. This is a woven. This is a woven pant. It's a stretch woven. So this is where you want your threads to really match. Whenever you're dealing with a fabric, you want to go darker on your thread color. Don't go lighter. So this is just a little top stitching that I'm doing. I'll show you after I do it. And then I'm going to give that a little bit of a press. You'll see that those kind of wrinkles or gathers or eases, whatever you want to call them, they're just there until you press, and then they'll go away. And they won't be once you put them on the body either. But in a stretch woven, they'll be there in the beginning. So with a woven, do you have to make sure the waist measurement goes over hips as opposed to knit? Yes. Yeah, you got to make sure. That's why sometimes with a woven, depending on how much stretch it is, like I'll do the band first, and I'll make sure that I always sew the band first. I make sure I can get the band over my hips. If I can't get the band over your hips, you have to go to a larger waist size. The waist size on a woven is all about the size of the pants. So that's the way you want them to look. I'm going to put a tag in here really quick because I really like a tag. And my tag, I just sew the top anyway. And then I'm going to hem one leg just so that you see that, so that you see that hemmed. You guys, I haven't had labels for a long time, and I never even used labels for a long time. I love labels because in a minute you can tell what's the front and what's the back. When we home make our stuff, see, that looks so nice. Alright, hang on and I'll press them, but I want to do one hem. When you stitch the waistband, did you use a zipper foot to get close to the elastic? No, you don't need to use a zipper foot because you only need to use a zipper foot if it's really high on one side and really low on the other side. You could tell where the elastic was. So it's not necessary to use a zipper foot. You can just use a regular. I do a 1-inch hem. You don't want to do any wider because if you do any wider, then the shape of the hem has to change. So you'll see the 1-inch looks, again, I think the 1-inch looks very store made, and they're done by machine. Alright, so I left my iron on all this time so that I could press the top and just kind of show you how pressing definitely changes things. But you can really complete that whole thing without any pressing at all. Okay, did you put 4 cones of matching thread on your serger? I did. I used all 4 colors that match the pant, kind of like a taupe color. Really beautiful. It's right on the color-wise. I really like it. Okay, so we're going to go back a little bit. We're going to just hang on while we move. I'm going to come over here. And I'm just going to press this band a little bit so you can see how it changes. Again, when you are sewing with knits and you're doing a little bit of easing, the fabric takes it up, but wovens aren't going to take it up the same way that knits will. And so when you first sew them, you'll have a little bit of difference until you press it, and then you're going to see the difference. Okay, and that's just kind of a quick press, but I want to show you. See how pretty that lays now? I'll press this other side just so you can see kind of before and after. So just the fact that it didn't have a press right when we were pressing it, you can see how much smoother they lay. Once they're on, they'll have a little bit of tension there and they'll be smooth all the way. Okay? Alright, so there's my new pants. New yoga pants, you guys. Did you sew yours along with me? Is everybody done? Alright, so we're there. I hope this was fun for you all. It's so easy. I just want you to get sewing. Don't panic. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I guess the way we wrote the directions and the way I've evolved, they change a little bit, but it doesn't make a difference. It's just, I don't think there's an advantage or disadvantage to either way. Just make enough pairs to where you have a preference of which one you like, and we'll be in good shape. All right? Any questions to wrap up? If you have this iron and you drip water, it's because your water is too high. This little knob right here controls how much water the iron sends up, and it is such a powerful iron that turn it all the way to the left, turn it all the way down, and that's all the water you need, and you'll just get steam. Every once in a while I get a drip, but if it drips, watch. Just keep going, let the drips get out, and then it will just steam. Okay, it's the Rowenta. It's a DG 5030. DG 5030. Are we good? Oh, pockets. You know what? Didn't we? We will put up a YouTube next Monday on a yoga pant DVD excerpt. The DVD sale will be over. But we'll put up an excerpt of the pocket part, because the pocket part is done very well on that DVD, and you'll see it clearly on the DVD. So we'll put up an excerpt next Monday. I'm committing to that right now, and so that way you can see how to do all the pockets. Okay? That help? All right. So the goal is get yourself a pair of yoga pants made, and more than anything, happy sewing from Silhouette Patterns. Thanks. Good night, everybody.